Alrighty then. So I just saw Three Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri, and oh my gosh, what a fantastic movie this is. Honestly, I think this movie might just be my favorite release from 2017. And seeing as the Oscars are literally tomorrow, I fully expect this movie to pick up a couple of awards. Unfortunately, I have not been able to see the other two films that the director of this film has made, Martin McDonagh. I do not know if I'm pronouncing that right, but man, if this is not the best business card that you can come up with, then I really don't know what is. I am very excited to see what other films Martin has made. I have heard that Three Billboards is his best movie, which I don't find surprising, but man, I'm very excited to see his other work based on how awesome I thought this movie was. The biggest standout aspect of this movie is probably, and I say probably because there are just so many good parts of this movie that it's hard to choose the very best one. But at least in my opinion, the best aspect of this movie is the performances. Frances McDormand, man, Jesus Christ, what an amazing performance. What a career-defining performance. For me, Three Billboards is to Frances McDormand as, I don't know, Whiplash is to J.K. Simmons, or Forrest Gump is to Tom Hanks. It might not be the movies that everyone knows them for, but damn it, I think it's their best movies without a doubt. I think that each one of these films for each one of these actors is their career-defining performances. And I'm so honored to have seen Frances McDormand's career-defining performance in a theater for Three Billboards. Just such a great performance. She does such a fantastic job at selling this borderline psychotic character who has lost all faith in the justice system and has lost all hope in relying on people who she sees has failed her, and is now taking matters into her own hands as she sees fit. There's so much subtlety in her performance, whether it be the way that she reacts to things, the way that she delivers her lines, the way that she tries to subdue her emotions on screen. It's so masterfully done, and it's such a pleasure to watch. And honestly, if Frances McDormand does not win the Best Actress Oscar tomorrow, I will be very upset. As someone who knows that the Oscars mean absolutely nothing, I will still be so upset if she does not win it tomorrow, because this is just such a great performance. Male, female, this generation, last generation, it's a masterful performance that I feel like people will look back at this performance years from now and say, God damn, she did it so well. Sam Rockwell also did a great job at playing a character whose arc I did not see coming whatsoever, and I also found it very interesting. It must have been difficult to make that kind of transition and portray that arc on screen, but I think he handled the transition and arc very seamlessly. Caleb Jones is an actor that I am definitely going to keep an eye out for after this movie and Get Out, where he played the family's crazy brother. He's such an organic actor on screen. He's so natural with his delivery and his mannerisms. He's such a pleasant person to watch on screen. I think he has a really bright future ahead of him. I think he's a future Oscar winner for sure. Not now, he's a little young, but give him some time. I think that he's going to be the next generation's actor. I think Woody Harrelson did a solid job as always. He always kind of plays Woody Harrelson. Peter Dinklage, who I'm very happy to see outside of Game of Thrones, did a good job as well. There was a very minor character played by Daryl Britt Gibson, who I very much enjoyed on screen, who I want to see in more movies, because he, much like Caleb Jones, just feels very natural on screen. Just up and down the board, good performances. Very good performances. The movie had a very good script as well. Martin McDonagh, who directed the movie, also wrote it. And he has a very good sense and a very good knack at developing characters, developing arcs, creating atmosphere, and just overall pacing a story. I honestly just loved the premise and the plot of the narrative. I've personally never heard of a movie that has a plot even remotely similar to Three Billboards, and I think that it says a lot about McDonagh's creative vision in bringing a very unconventional story such as this to life. There are a lot of twists and a lot of turns and a lot of conflicts in the narrative that really enthralled me and brought me in. And a lot of them I've never really seen before, so I think he did a great job with that. There was a lot of humor in the script as well that I feel landed very well throughout the entirety of the movie. There was a lot of it, almost too much. But not too much to the point where it detracted from the overall impact of the film, much unlike Marvel movies where everything is undercut by a very cringy joke. I think that Three Billboards handled its humor with a lot of grace and a lot of maturity. I loved the character interactions throughout this movie, specifically between Frances McDormand's character and Woody Harrelson's character. It was so interesting to see two characters that had so much respect for each other on screen, but at the end of the day, they just landed on completely different sides of the conflict at hand throughout the movie. Sam Rockwell and Woody Harrelson's characters also had a lot of fun moments between the two as well. Their characters are so strongly developed in this movie, and it's a lot of fun to watch the dichotomy between the two because they work the same job, but they fall on such different ends of the spectrum between being a shit human being and a very good person. The script also presented a lot of interesting themes for the audience to chew on, which made me at least see both sides of the given conflict throughout the narrative. Just off the top of my head, some of these themes were hope, love, loss, justice, and they were all handled pretty well. Some better than others, but none of them were handled poorly. And, much like many other great scripts, the dialogue is just fantastic in this movie. There is a lot of talking. Most of this movie is actually just talking. There's a couple of action scenes here and there, but compared to how many pure dialogue scenes there are, the action scenes are very sparse. Very sparse. But with that being said, though, yeah, the dialogue was really fun to listen to. I think that it really gave each actor a lot of time to shine, whether it be the minor characters or whether it be our main characters. And yeah, the argument can be made that these dialogue scenes were entertaining because there was a strong director, there was a strong script, there were strong performances, but you know what? The dialogue in and of itself was very strong and very believable. The cinematography for this movie is just spot on. This movie is absolutely gorgeous. Even from the opening shots, where they kind of set the stage and set the tone for the film, I was kind of enthralled right then and there. And it certainly helps that they filmed on location. This movie wasn't filmed in a studio, thank God, but I'm just so impressed by how professional and clean they made everything look. So I want to give some very particular credit to Martin McDonagh, not just for being such a good screenwriter and making such a good script, but also for being such a good director on both the macro and the micro level for Three Billboards. The macro being, the way that the plot carries itself through the narrative, or how the characters develop themselves. That's the macro. The micro being how each individual shot is filmed and lit, and the way that the actors deliver their lines. He does such a good job at handling both, and it's almost as if he saw the movie in his head before he ever picked up the camera and shot it. I am personally a huge fan of a really well done, intricate one-shot scene, and this movie has a marvelous one that must have been so hard to pull off as well as they did because it involves a handful of characters, it involves a lot of movement from outdoor to indoor, back to outdoor, and a lot of precise timing, and it must have been so hard because they really needed everyone to be on their A game. And not only that, it really needed an A-grade director to be coordinating everybody, to be making sure that the timings are hit precisely. And that's exactly what we get with Martin McDonagh. And I think that scene in particular is the best testament to show how solid of a director he was for Three Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri. Now, this movie isn't perfect, despite how great it really is. First things first, I could have done with a little bit less humor. It's a funny movie, and it succeeds in being a funny movie, but I personally just feel like I would have enjoyed it a little bit more if it stayed serious at times. The first thing that comes to mind is the kitchen scene featuring the ex-husband, I guess, and Frances McDormand's character and Lucas Hedges' character. I wish it would have been a little bit more serious in scenes with such intense character dynamics like that. It also featured the comic relief character, who I totally could have done without. She's very annoying, very over the top, very cliche, and I kind of think the film suffered as a result of having her in it. I'm really not too sure what they were trying to do with that comic relief character, honestly. In a movie that has such strong characters and such a strong script with such a strong director, I really feel like the movie missed its mark on that. I would have much rather not had her in it at all. There is another character who appears in the gift shop, and then we see him a little bit later in the movie, in the bar, where he just feels like he pops up out of nowhere. And I really feel like pops up is the best word to describe him, because he just appears out of nowhere without any sort of build-up. And mind you, he is a very important part of the plot, so I'm not really sure why they just inserted him into these scenes without any sort of development. My argument, I have no issue with him being in the movie. I think he's important to the movie, and I think that he belonged there, but I wish that they would have put him in there a little bit more smoothly. To be quite honest with you, I'm not really happy with the way that they handled that character, period. He just became a plot convenience after a while, especially in the bar. He, I don't even know what they were trying to accomplish. When he was speaking, in my head, all I was thinking was, wow, it's really convenient that you're just happening to be sitting next to this very important character saying this very important part of the plot. It felt very inorganic, and I'm not sure how this happened because almost every single other character in the film was written so terrifically. This one was handled very, very poorly. That's basically it. Two weak characters bring down this movie ever so slightly for me, but rest assured, this is a fantastic movie. Three Billboards is a movie that I cannot wait to watch again. It is a movie about not just one character, addressing topics such as hope, hopelessness, justice, love, and loss. And honestly, when I was watching this movie, I laughed and I smiled and I cried a little bit, and I just felt heartbroken at some points too. And like I said, I can't wait to watch this movie again. And overall, I'm going to give Three Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri a 9 out of 10. Thank you for watching. I'll see you next time.